Good morning, everybody. My name is Michael Port, President and founder, Guernsey County Parents United, and founder of Parents United US. I'm also involved in the Parental Alienation Awareness Organization, which we had a privilege of being able to be interviewed on a local TV station just recently. Folks, my goal today is to share a little bit about what is going on in Guernsey County. You know, many of you are just sitting out there absolutely doing nothing. There's an article that I want to release to the paper here very soon, and my prayer is that it will be released and that the public, the public will, in fact, get involved. As many of you know, we know that we live in a county where we see many times people fall victims to improprieties and corruption. I can tell you for one, I've only been living here since 1999. But since the time that I've lived here, I've begun to learn a lot about the system. In general, you work with children every day. Since the time I was 16 years old, I've always worked with children and youth. For a while, that was stripped away from me because of my own custody proceeding. However, I've got clear and convincing evidence to prove that I am 100%, in fact, innocent. Not only was I innocent, but Children's Services got involved in the case and actually substantiated abuse on me in several different occasions. But folks, today I want to share something with you. I want to share something with you because I want you to see how the system works and how they will twist and bend and manipulate everything that you say. Well, I want to start off today, number one, 3 different categories I want to look at. The first one being Children's Services. Guernsey County Children's Services. It is my understanding that there's a lot of turmoil going on at Guernsey County Children's Services. This is the talk of the town. The reality is this. Here's what I can tell you. There have been plenty of people over the last 10 years that have been let go from Children's Services. Some have been asked to resign. Others have been asked to resign or step away for a while, and then they were invited back. But here's one thing I will tell you. Recently, I received an email from a caseworker who I just found out is now leaving Children's Services for another job. Is she really leaving Children's Services because she wants this other job so that she can spend more time with her family? Is that really the reason? Or is it because Guernsey County Parents United has in possession a tape recording where this caseworker intentionally breaks the law in forming a mother to leave the county? In fact, it doesn't stop there. Not only did this mother wind up leaving the county because Children's Services was encouraging it and basically saying, hey, go ahead and break the law, but also this mother's relative had received a phone call from an attorney encouraging them to do such. What is wrong with this picture? Well, let me share several things. First of all, Children's Services is not to give advice. If Children's Services is telling somebody to violate a court order, obviously they are breaking the law. One thing that I have seen is that there are many instances where I have seen law being violated because of personal opinion over what is supposed to be done, procedure and policy. Let me give you another instance. Recently, I was told of a mother who was basically losing her child because she tested positive for drugs, marijuana. And she sat there and she basically decided that she would go ahead and take it, not a problem, and did so. But did you know that there are many people inside our system that are doing the same exact thing? That there are many people who are in our courthouses and that are officials and working in the legal field and in Children's Services that do drugs and party on a regular basis? Do I need facts? Sure, I got them for you. Do you need the facts? I don't have a problem providing them. But I will tell you this. Corruption is running deep within our county. I will challenge any of these agencies to call me out on anything that I'm sharing today. I have also been informed that there has been a person let go for embezzling money from Children's Services. But did you hear anything about that, general public? Did you hear anything about the money, your tax-paying dollars, being used and abused? And yet, this person supposedly was alleged to be asked to resign? Is that how it's supposed to work? What about the city councilman's wife, who basically got busted for welfare fraud? Now the city councilman got cleared of that, but his wife did not, and she was forced to make restitution. So my question to you is, the city councilman's wife is being forced to make restitution, but what do we know about this situation at Children's Services? Is Children's Services covering up right now? Is Children's Services protecting known people that have actually done wrong? Known criminals, per se? In exchange for sex and drugs? I will tell you this, Guernsey County. I have a tape recording, and I am in the possession, or am in the process, I should say, of gaining 6 hours more of tape recordings within Guernsey County. I want to tell anybody, if you deal with Children's Services, tape your conversation. And if you feel your rights are being violated, I want to know. And there's a reason for that. But let me say this. I'm not going to sit back and absolutely do nothing. Many of you know on my Facebook, I've been very vocal about our freedom of speech. Our freedom of speech needs to be something that we continue to hold near and dear. Our freedom of speech is the very accountability of the system. I talked to many people in Guernsey County Parents United, and even through the Parental Alienation Awareness Organization, that have said, I'm afraid to speak out. I don't want to talk right now because I'm afraid of retaliation. Retaliation. I don't know how Guernsey County retaliates against people. But what I will tell you is I have seen cases where even a person who works at Children's Services threatened his spouse, saying, I will get custody of the kids because I work around Marsha Hollins. That's how it works, folks. There are many people that I have seen lose custody of their children simply because their ex works in the court system, or they work in the legal field, or they were some affiliation to somebody who works in the legal field, or perhaps they were babysat by one of the people in the legal field. There are so many conflicts that I see within Guernsey County that it absolutely floors me. But let me say this. I'm saying this publicly. I know my case should be reopened as well as many other cases because of the facts and the information that I have received in regards to Children's Services violating due process. I can tell you this. I can also tell you that there are former executive directors of Children's Services who sit in an organization in Columbus with many senators and legislators. Does that protect Guernsey County? Well, it may. I know that there are judges within our county that sit on some very big boards. Judge Elwood sits on the integrity board. But yet, where's the integrity in our system? Whenever we know that Magistrate Hollins violated and broke the law. I'm publicly saying it here. I have factual information. I will prove it if anybody wants to know. And I will simply say this. The system in general needs to realize that you cannot continue to violate people's rights and break the law. The rumor is, and I'm publicly saying this, and if she is, great. If she's not, she's not. But supposedly, Marsha Hollins is going to run for a judge. I, for one, am opposed to this. Why? Number one, because there are laws being broken every day. We give discretion to judges. But after speaking with a personal friend of mine who is a judge, he is very bothered by the cases that I have presented to him from this county. There are good friends that I have gotten to know real well that have sat there and said, enough is enough, Mike. You have to speak out. People who work inside the legal system outside of Guernsey County that said, you've got to do it. There are agencies within Children's Services from one county to the other county that will protect the other county, even so much as to ignore the clear and convincing evidence that is right before their own eyes. Folks, it's happening. And people continue to protect people even though people are doing wrong. And the system will not reveal the real truth. Children's Services needs to be exposed. I am going to go public with the tapes that I receive because I want everybody to know exactly what is going on with Guernsey County Children's Services and everything that is involved in that process. I can tell you that without a shadow of a doubt that my custody case was fixed. and I will prove that with no problem. Here's the situation. I'm pro se. I don't have money for an attorney. Magistrate Hollins has told me numerous times, take it back to Children's Services. I'm denied an oral hearing all the time. I'm denied evidence that I would have had an opportunity to present if Children's Services would have said that I wasn't guilty of the offenses. But instead, Children's Services says that I was. Half the depositions against me changed, but not all of them. And Marcia Hollins basically says, you agreed that they all needed to change in order for you to regain any kind of time with your children. Although there are many criminals out there, Marcia Hollins, I can't call her honorable because there's nothing honorable about this situation. But I will tell you this, as I continue to see parents come to Guernsey County Parents United, I can tell you that there are violations of their rights being done. And there are children being ripped away from a parent simply because they are moving from one county to the next. Is that a change of circumstance? Well, if you bend and tweak anything that you want to, you can. You can take all the change of circumstance factors and bend and twist it and mold it because you have discretion to do such. But yet, a child who just spent 90% of their time or 50% of their time with parents 50-50 down the middle is now being rejected to a point where now that child only has about 17% of the time? Is that right? Is that truly in the best interest of the children? People, please start speaking up. Let's quit sitting here saying that we're so frustrated and discouraged, because I can tell you, if you don't start speaking up, you will have 2 new judges in the next couple of years that will continue to ruin lives, and it will only get worse than it has been now. Guernsey County Parents United is going to do everything that we can to present people with facts and truth and evidence. And not only am I going to be able to do that, but I'm also going to share other organizations that are doing a great job of exposing injustices and corruption within our county. Recently, I received some information that got back to me. It is from a group that is called Citizens Against Immoral Government and Government Waste. It's a nonprofit agency that shines a light on our local government. They have done through research, and they have had a year-long investigation on all reports that they file. This is not something that they just do absolutely randomly. I want to share a letter that was sent to us and presented to us. And here's what they had to say. We cannot expose our sources. We cannot expose our identities at this time, obviously due to retribution. We have found in the smaller communities that no one wants to, quote unquote, rock the boat. We are a group that is not anti-government. However, we feel that the correct spending of tax dollars would drop our tax rates dramatically. If our government would spend their budgets like we do at home, things would not be so complicated. Some, majority of our sources, came from inside the agency and are in fear of losing his or her job. That explains the secrecy. The agency we have directed our attention to for the past 9 months is the Guernsey County Sheriff's Office. Some of the offenses happened much earlier than 9 months ago, but we feel that it needs to be brought to light. Some of the things that they write in the letter are this. Did you know that the Sheriff's Office and the Cambridge Police Department unions participate in what is called Shop with a Cop? Now, they take needy children and shop with them during Christmas time. While it sounds heroic, they raise around $60,000 per department each year and spend of the $60,000 approximately $2,500 to $4,000 on the children. So where does the money go? Well, mostly to solicitors. They take approximately 80% of their fees, and the rest is spent on various things the union sees fit. How's that for the spirit of giving? Did you know that the Sheriff's Department recently bought a jet ski? Really? Your 2 major lakes have rangers that already have boats, but the sheriff and his 2 highest ranking officials were filmed riding it on Salt Lake in the summer of 2012. I'm sure this could have been called training for something that will never be used. Did you know that you are making payments on a $65,000 Harley Davidson? That is the price after being fully equipped with the police gear, etc. The sheriff sold this idea to citizens a couple years ago, stating to save on gas money. Have you ever seen it out there other than in the parades? If an officer did use the bike and would have to make an arrest, a regular car would still have to arrive to transport. Do you know they have a new jet ski and a new Harley? You're the one paying for it. A Harley is really not a good idea on our county roads and our weather here in Ohio. Did you know that you're maintaining the most advanced mobile command unit in Ohio? That's right. Of the 88 counties, your sheriff stated that your overtaxed county could take care of some brand new Duramax diesel with over $500,000, $500,000 worth of radio equipment. While it costs no money up front, estimates have stated the maintenance exceeds $5,000 per year, not exceeding storage fees. Most citizens can hardly afford their cell phone bill. How about the airboat that was donated? That type of boat is illegal in Ohio waters because it is too dangerous. Records show maintenance exceeds $2,000 a year. Is your internet bill or the computer maintenance too high? Your sheriff has a computer paid for by you, internet connection paid for by you in his own residence. Now it is stated that he does law enforcement work on it. Be interesting to see if this is the only time he is on the web, is indeed for law enforcement material. Do you work on your computer? Does your business pay for it? Did you know that the Fraternal Order of Police contracts state a 20-year employee gets 4 personal days, 15 sick days, and 5 weeks paid vacation a year paid? That's nearly 2 months of a year. Now, this benefit applies to only union employees, and the lieutenants and up are not in the union, so they should not receive that benefit. An employee may accumulate as much sick time as they can over a career, but then get one big paycheck at retirement. This is for union employees. Did you know your sheriff has not been seen in the union for over 25 years? However, when he retires, he still paid himself for sick and vacation time equaling over $30,000 check. Now, even though he is retired, since he is an elected official, he still keeps his job and receives now 2 paychecks. The double dipping standard that is in Ohio is still legal. He brings home over $100,000 a year with health insurance. We could only dream of. How much did you say you make? Did you know that the chief detective has a handicapped son was getting 2 Social Security checks for his son? He finally got caught and now has to make payments back to the Social Security Administration. Is that stealing? This is the man that the sheriff department is prepping to take his place. This is immoral. Now, mind you, folks, this information is a letter that has been sent to me. These guys are telling me that they have hardcore facts to be able to prove the corruption inside Guernsey County. We have sent information and letters to them asking for some of this information and to be willing to partner with them any way we possibly can. You know, recently I sat in a Guernsey County Commissioners meeting and I was appalled by the lack of professionalism shown by Sheriff Mike McCauley. The individual who was in the committee meeting with the commissioners, I felt was very professional. And I sat there with the intent of listening and learning because I have something that I want the Guernsey County Commissioners to deal with as well. And I will tell them right here, it's children's services in Guernsey County. I can also tell you that I'm very bothered by other information and facts that I have also received in regards to some problems within our county that I will definitely pursue with the commissioners. And if action is not taken appropriately, I will go much, much higher up the chain to try and get accountability within our system here in Guernsey County. Folks, I'm not here to ruin lives. I'm just here to do what's right. Let me get back to the letter and share some more about what happened. Did you know that several years back, the department bought a new four-wheeler? No big deal, but then it ended up at the sheriff's house for over 6 months. Did you know that the tire shop that had been contracted to put tires on the sheriff's vehicles was investigated for non-tax payment? The sheriff pulled strings and got the tire company through that. For having the contract, the sheriff gets new free tires on all his vehicles. Do you pay your taxes? Budget maintenance. It is customary for all agencies to spend their full budget, even if at the end of the year it means frivolously spending excess monies at the end of the year. Why? If the sheriff does not spend the full budget, he will not get as much the following year. It's wasted tax money. Did you know that your local sheriff was investigated by the Ethics Commission for using the county cell phone for personal use during an audit? He was forced to pay back money towards the cell phone bill, but was not made to backdate it. I'm sure this went on for several years. Free cell phone would be nice now, wouldn't it? Oh, and it's not free to the taxpayer. During a previous census, the sheriffs had a detective on county time with a county vehicle go throughout Guernsey County and count the number of Amish people within the county. First, there was a complaint. He did not give much merit. We then found out that the detective was told to do this to increase the county population. While this may seem confusing, here's the thought behind the process. The sheriff gets paid by population of the county. Apparently, Guernsey County was near the cusp of the local sheriff increasing his salary. Therefore, the detective, on taxpayer time, in the vehicle paid for by the taxpayers, drove around and counted enough Amish to get the sheriff over the $100,000 mark with his salary and retirement benefits. How's this? Did you know that nearly 9 of 10 of the awards and medals on the sheriff's uniform he proudly wears in pictures were given to him by himself? Wow, how can that be? It's immoral. Citizens, we need to shed light on the immoral government, corrupt government. Did you know, by some estimates, 40% of your tax-paying dollars are being inappropriately spent? Think of how much our tax rate would drop. The military budget would not be an issue. This is enough money to ensure every citizen in the United States with fully paid health insurance. This is enough money to pave every public road in the nation 3 times. This is enough money to buy every citizen 4.7 brand new vehicles. Enough money to pay off every mortgage. All information letters will be mailed out randomly with no tracking records kept. Power is knowledge in the system. Time to do something about it. No more standing by with your hands in your pockets. Let's get their hands out of ours. We are out there and we are watching. Noted. Focus, Sheriff, December 2012. This organization is a nonprofit organization. All donations go to the certified copies and filing fees. This information was obtained by current employees, was obtained by other government officials and entities, was obtained by family members, retirees, and citizens of Guernsey County, and contract information is available on the internet. Also, research articles from the Daily Jeffersonian, the IRS, Verizon Cellular, and this group thanked each and every single one of them. Now, my friends, I ask you this. Is that corruption? Is that illegal? I have been bothered by the things that I have seen within Guernsey County myself, especially drugs. One of the things that I have been bothered by is drugs because it's very personal to me. Having a friend die when I was younger because he overdosed on drugs. Being a youth pastor in this community, I work with many teenagers. I'm no longer a youth pastor, but I still work with a lot of children and teenagers in our community. It really bothers me to continue to see the system allow the drugs to continue to permeate. Recently on Talk of the Town, Sheriff Mike McCauley made a comment that if you know that there are issues of drugs within your community, report it. Sheriff Mike McCauley, many people have reported things back to you and you've done absolutely nothing. And maybe this is a long drawn out thing, but I can tell you in my neighborhood, there's so many people that are doing drugs that it floors me. Some of them it's just marijuana. Listen, there are people that are going to say legalize marijuana, it won't be an issue. but then you legalize marijuana, then they're going to say you need to legalize something else. You just had your buyback day on pills. But I have sat in the courtroom and I have seen people get off so easy for drugs. I court watch. I go there for a reason. Because number one, I want to educate myself on how the system is different in regards to who the people are. There are people that are doing drugs, that are selling drugs to our local officials. And we let it go. Do I have facts? I'm just going to smile. But let me say this. Time is time. The time for change is now. It is my understanding, I don't know if it's 100% right, that Sheriff Mike McCauley is leading at the end of this year. If that is true, God bless Guernsey County. He's supposedly going to become the lead person for the the Buckeye State Sheriff's Association, from my understanding. That's a sad day for that organization. If all these statements that I have received are true. Sheriff Mike McCauley, I don't know you from Adam. I know that you're a lay pastor at your church, from what I understand. And I know from a pastor's heart how important it is to reach people. But I also know what it means to be honest and have integrity. And I have seen throughout my time here in Guernsey County that there are many people who reside in elected positions that are very dishonest. From mayors, I like you, Tom Moore, by the way, to other individuals in the courthouse, lawyers that have been extremely dishonest to protect their careers. Folks, just recently, I want to go back to the court scene. I had an individual send me an email. It wasn't even an email, it was a message. But they basically had said the thing to me that just absolutely floored me. There is a local attorney who sat there and told this person that they have a hard time at sleeping at night because of the family court system. They are bothered by the things that happen inside that court. This person went so far as to saying that there's a parent group out there that is fighting for the rights of parents. And although I don't support this group is right on about a lot of issues. Magistrate Hollins, that is a lawyer inside your courthouse, inside the system that Judge Elwood has put you, quote unquote, in charge of. Judge Elwood, start doing what's right. You say, and signed off by you and Judge Moorhead, and it specifically states 60-40 in divorced cases. So why are not parents getting that? 60-40 is great. That's the closest thing to the legislation that's in Columbus right now that our organization has been involved with, and I hope to do more with, which is 50-50. You know, maybe if the courts did 60-40 or even 50-50, there wouldn't be as much fighting. But folks, if the court did that, they wouldn't make money. The lawyers wouldn't make money. I can tell you in my own custody proceeding, I didn't have any money. But I was willing to fight until a point that I could fight no more. You see, my friends, Magistrate Hollins and Jacqueline Tressel, now Jacqueline Martin, threatened me with vexatious litigation in fighting for my children. I presented evidence, factual evidence, clear and convincing evidence, and yet it was ignored. Ronnie Dennis is another father in the area, and there are many others, but Ronnie Dennis does not see his children. For many of you that know the Dennis family, you know my heart goes out to them. He does not see his children because of the fact of DNA, which proved it wasn't his. Now, community, let me ask you this question. If there's DNA found on a little girl's panties, and the DNA comes back that it does not belong to the father, but the DNA belongs to somebody else, wouldn't you think that Dan Padden, the prosecutor's office, would do everything in his power to protect that child? But yet that's not happening in Guernsey County, folks. Dan Patton knows who the DNA belongs to, but yet he will not say. Attorney Brown, you know who that DNA belongs to, but you will not say. Miles Freeze, you know who the DNA belongs to, but you will not say. Maybe not directly, but indirectly you know, because all the indicators prove to who is guilty, and yet you sit back and continue to protect somebody who is guilty. From my understanding, the job of the prosecutor is to protect the innocent and to fight for their rights. So my question is, if the prosecutor's office, who represents Children's Services, is not protecting children, perhaps Guernsey County Children's Services is not protecting children either. Folks, I want to hear back from you. This video was meant to really get people to think and challenge, and there's a lot more exposing coming. But let me say this exposing is not about ruining lives. It's not about ruining careers. This is all about doing what is right. I am so thankful that I have a pastor, and I have sat down with, and I have said to him, do you approve of what I'm doing? And he says, yes. I ask for blessings to go out and accomplish what is being done. There are youth in our church whose lives are being ruined every day. I have some kids now that, that come in our church van whose parents are involved in custody proceedings, and I see those children, and I see how those children respond. As a youth pastor, I was involved in counseling, and I try to work with these kids and trying to be an encouragement to these kids as much as I possibly can, knowing that the system is lying. When a child walks into Magistrate Holland's chambers and there's absolutely no accountability at all because there's no tape recording, there's no proof of what was said, and it happens. And that child comes to me and says, Pastor Mike, I never, ever, ever said that about my parent. And yet, Magistrate Holland says I did. My question is the child lying, or is Magistrate Holland's? Here's my question. Folks in Guernsey County, are you just going to continue to sit here and do absolutely nothing? Are you absolutely content with the way things are as we see it right now? Or are you finally going to do something about it? Guernsey County Parents United is not a radical organization that is trying to hurt people. We are not a bunch of crybabies, and we're just upset because we didn't win our custody case. I can tell you that there are people that I've eliminated that have come to our organization that I knew they weren't honest. In fact, I clapped and gave Children's Services my approval because I have seen that Children's Services was doing the right thing in that particular case. But yet I can tell you of instances where a caseworker, Maria Neiswanger, is involved, where I can tell you children's lives are being ruined. And I'm sure that there are others. I can tell you that an individual took a picture of had a picture that she took to Children's Services, and it was handed, I believe it was to Bill Loader or whatever his name is, and the picture was a mother snorting something up her nose, and it was a white powder, but yet he says, we don't know what that is. When do we get to a point where clear and convincing evidence can be admissible? Because right now, in the Dennis case, the DNA's there, and yet nobody's protecting the children. In my case, numerous affidavits, and now more information out of Muskingum County in regards to my ex-wife's husband involved with individuals earlier when he was younger. And yet Children's Services knew. And when I reported the incident to Children's Services in regards to my daughter and him, they ignored me. I was just disgruntled. I was just upset. Let me tell you this. I don't know any parent who's going to continue to fight for his kids if he's guilty. Recently, a woman showed up at my house, and I'm not going to say her name, but she showed up at my house and she made a comment to me and said, Mike, in the end, I truly believe you're going to win your kids back. I truly believe Ronnie Dennis is going to win his kids back. That individual works in the courthouse. Let me ask you this question, people. When are people in this community going to start doing what's right? There's some food for thought. And I'm going to leave it with you. And I pray that you will get involved. God bless and have a great day.